This week's Inside EVs podcast is brought to you by Electrify America, and we're so happy to be partnering with Electrify America until the end of the year. With Electrify America, you can drive your EV from coast to coast with more than 650 charging stations nationwide and new locations opening every week. Electrify America is bringing EV drivers the freedom they need. Whether you want to plan a weekend getaway for Labor Day weekend, maybe you're off to see some friends or relatives, maybe it's a coast-to-coast road trip. You can ask our Kyle about how that's done using Electrify America charging stations. Well, you can rely on Electrify America's ultra-fast chargers to get you back on the road faster. So, where will you go charging on Electrify America? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what your plans are for this weekend and tell us where you'll go next. And you can learn more at electrifyamerica.com.
Hello, and welcome to the Inside EVs podcast for September the 3rd, 2021. This is episode number 74. Today, we'll be talking about Rivian seeking an $80 billion IPO, the Audi Grand Sphere concept makes its debut, CUPRA UrbanRebel previews a VW Group City car, and much, much more. I'm Dominic Ioni, Inside EV's forum moderator and Inside EV's editor. Joining us today is the mature and enlightened Tom Logney, Inside EV's editor and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. We also have the meritorious Mr. Martin Lee from the EV News Daily podcast, which, of course, is available on all the best podcast platforms. And, of course, Kyle Connor joins us from Out of Spec Studios. He also puts together voracious videos for the Inside EV's YouTube channel. Okay, so before we get going, I'd like to ask that you please subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button. And of course, you can ring the bell icon on Twitch or YouTube and be informed about any new videos that might pop up on our channel. All right. So with that out of the way, welcome everybody. So let's kick it off talking about what we've been driving this week. Kyle joins us today from, I believe, Munich, Germany, in a nice swank looking pad there. And
swank looking pad. That's what.
Hey, that's what
yeah,
we used to call
here in
those
Munich,
things back in the
absolutely loving it. We landed, I want to say 4 days ago, and basically the idea was, IAA is a show I went to for the first time a few years ago. Really enjoyed it, and last year it was canceled, so I said, we got to go back to the really cool German auto show. It's, for me, I love it. I'm a big German car fan in general, so it's great to be around the people who make the cars that I love so much. So this year we decided to extend the trip a little bit more than just the couple days at IAA. We're here for pretty much a full 4 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks, just under a month. And been here 4 days so far. Picked up ID.3 at the airport. The following day, the Mach-E or Mocha-E arrives. Still not sure what's the correct way. I know Martin says Mach-E, but I like Mocha-E. It's funny. And then today, the Honda E has arrived, and we have plenty of cars, close to 21 or 22 different vehicles we'll be testing. All the Chinese EVs up in Norway. Bjorn will actually be away when we're in Norway. I was hoping we could do a little collaboration, but we'll be working with Chris Rifa, who is also a fantastic EV YouTuber, who I watched. I've been a fan of his channel since before he started covering EVs, back when he was just a Volvo YouTube channel, because I've always been a Volvo enthusiast. So it's great to connect with him. He's bringing e-tron GT down to Munich, actually. We're going to do some fun things with that car. We'll have Taycan from Porsche, do some top speed runs down the Autobahn, of course. Having a blast here in Germany, absolutely loving it. And yesterday, what took the Mach-E on a day trip from Munich to Graz and back, it was about the 850, 900 kilometers with some detours. Did well for a little tiny battery pack car.
Right. So you've only been there for like a couple of days, and you've already driven hundreds of miles in like 3 different cars. So, and you also have the Volkswagen ID.3, which they're letting you have that for like the whole month, I guess. And
yeah, Volkswagen said it's probably too complicated to figure out when we should pick it up, so just drop it off at the airport when you leave. And I was like, say less. That sounds great.
And you've already given us your first impressions of that car, like picking it up at the airport. So that's on our YouTube channel. You can check that out there. And as well, you may have driven it flat out on the Autobahn, and I'm not sure if that's
every single car except for the Honda E. Some cars we'll talk about next week that we haven't even posted about yet.
Right.
Has reached top speed on the Autobahn. Of course, this is where I like to spend most of the time. You know, we wait for the sun to go down, traffic to empty, and then it's just hammer down. It's really amazing. I love, driving on the Autobahn, looking at how other drivers respect lane discipline.
Right.
Looking at, just sort of the competence of driving is so much higher at those higher speeds. You know, the best part is we were clogging along in the ID.3 at top speed at 105 miles an hour, which it should be faster, but it's not, and that's okay. And like we're in the right lane at 105, and an RS6 wagon just goes by like we're stopped, and it's like, welcome to Germany. That's why we're here. Best thing ever.
You're like 100. What is it? 166 kilometers an hour.
That's the limiter on it. Yep, it's like 104.
Okay. And you're like, right over in like the slow lane.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. So I guess you'll be telling us tell us a little bit about your first impressions of the ID.3, because Martin told us a bit last week, but he's got a different trim. So you have like an up-spec trim with like massaging seats. Is that a thing?
So I went into it with Martin's explanation that it was really not good. And I was like, okay, but this is weird because ID.4 is so nice and quite premium in the US, especially the price. And so I thought, oh crap, maybe we made the wrong choice selecting the ID.3 as our vehicle for the month. But then it arrived, and I think it all has to do with the spec. I don't know if the German and the UK specs line up, but Martin had the Life Pro, I think is what it was.
That's it, yeah.
Sounds like the cheapo one.
Yeah, that's like cloth seats and nothing's electric. It's all manual seats and all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
so what have
really?
you got then?
I have power seats, massaging seats, augmented reality heads-up display, great ambient lighting, a glass roof. I mean, it feels so cool. It's got fully adjustable suspension, more so in the US. And one thing I'm seeing in the comments, if anyone is in Germany, in Munich specifically, and they want to get together, please join us as we test cars. We will meet you for charging station, 0 to 100% DC fast charge test. Great place to get together outside. It's just on the north side of town. We've selected a location to do this. Shoot me an email or find me on Twitter at It's Kyle Connor, and would love to meet you. I know we're going to meet a ton of viewers this weekend, which will be great. Of both inside EVs and out of spec. But yeah, ID.3 rocks. So good. And I guess it totally depends on spec, because I've seen a couple strolling around the city that look terrible. And ours does this really nice LED light startup animation. When we click unlock, you can choose from 2 different programs of your light animation on startup. It also has the headlights that are matrix LED headlights, which are not legal in the US. So when you go full high beams, it will just black out the car coming towards you, and everything else stays bright, which is, I actually coded this into an older BMW that I owned back, 4 or 5 years ago, and it was the best technology, and seeing all the other cars in Germany have this, we need this in the US.
It does work really well, and so the LED matrix stuff very rarely gets it wrong. It doesn't often blind you. You're not often flashing somebody coming in the opposite direction. That works really well. Yeah, the ID.3 base spec, it's a really curious car. You can get into it for very little money, and you can get the steel wheels, and it's basically just like get in and go, very basic trim, which is what I've got. But by the sounds of it, I'd like to enjoy the top spec trim as well, and maybe that spec in an ID.4 would be our personal car of choice, maybe a bit bigger.
Well, are you going to come to Munich at all, Martin?
Hey, I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you do, then take this car for a couple days. I've already gotten permission from Volkswagen that any of our colleagues can drive it, live with it. So that would be fun to see your impressions on this trim versus the one that you had in the UK.
That might be a nice little video with, checking out the trim on Martin's car and then the trim on this car. I don't know. Is yours like color coded like this, Martin?
No, it's just all very dark and very plain trim.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Well, the only problem with Martin driving over here is he's going to have a lot of head-on collisions because he drives on the wrong side of the road.
I drive on the proper side of the road. This is the thing.
The wrong side.
So yeah, and actually travel for us is not too bad at the moment. We're all jabbed and stuff like that, so we are allowed to travel. We just have to tell people where we're going and things like that. So it's so cool that you're over here, and I say over here, 800 miles away from me, but it feels like you're close. It
That's
feels
just down the road.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's great to be here for sure. I also wanted to bring a mention out to the Opel Mach-E, which is the same as the Vauxhall Mach-E, I guess. And so this car is, 50 kilowatt hour battery pack, 45 usable, 100 kilowatt charging, and it holds that 100 kilowatt to almost 30%. So we were rolling into charging stations very low and then charging up, and it actually was really good. The problem early on in this trip was we had to figure out how to activate chargers here in Europe. And this, as an American, is a ginormous pain in the ass, excuse my language, but it's actually ridiculous how no one has thought through that an American tourist could come over with a vehicle, because you need a physical German address. We've been using our Airbnb. You need a German credit card, which we don't have, but we're using a family friends of ours Netherlands credit card, and you need a German or European app store on your phone, which you cannot transfer if you have US subscriptions, and you have to wait for them to run out. So you get hit on all ends. It was a total disaster the first couple days. Thank you to our colleagues at Motor One and Inside EVs Germany, just down the street from our apartment. They hooked us up with don't think I have it on me, a plug surfing card. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
This little card is magical. This activates,
RFID?
I would say, 70% of the chargers, and it goes to their bank account. So thanks. We'll reimburse them at the end.
Is that RFID?
Yeah, it's RFID that you can buy a little key or a card. As an American, you actually can't purchase one of these because you need a German credit card in order to do this.
That's
so
frustrating.
It's really a big issue, and Ionity works, by the way, with American stuff, so they've got it down.
Well,
but the rest,
has
no
got
way.
the card readers on the front. You just turn up, you tap your bank card, and it bills you.
It really bills you.
Not the cheapest network by a long way, but it works really well.
Yeah, for the price of charger, they should be shining your shoes as well.
It's essentially $100 to fully charge a dead Model S on Ionity.
Yeah, but how much does it cost to fill up a gas tank in Europe?
Yeah, but it's really not that bad. I mean,
it is.
That's
come on,
bad.
let's say like an equivalent Mercedes S-Class diesel is probably $180, $200 to fully fill. So it's half, but it's still a ton of money. And
so 41 euros, 41 cents. I mean, a kilowatt hour.
It's 89 cents per kilowatt hour, euro cents for Ionity charging.
So, but there's deals that you can get, right? You can sign up and get different levels of deals. Would you be able to do any of that?
No, I cannot do WeCharge. Volkswagen won't give us any charging cards because of some media thing. I don't know. I guess it's an ethical thing. I'm like, I don't want free juice. I just want to charge. I'll pay you for it. But and same with Opel, no charging cards. Honda, no charging cards. So thanks to if it wasn't for Inside EVs, our colleagues here, I'd be over. I had to fly to the UK, pick up this from Martin, say good luck getting around on your own, and
have mine. It works well.
Kyle, I don't know if you notice. I don't know if you get it, but we here in the U.S., I always got a charging card with my loaners. Always, every time someone gave me an EV, that stopped about a year or two ago, and now they don't give you a charging card. So I think
that's the way it should be.
No, I agree, but I think early on, most journalists would never be able to charge because they didn't have the apps. They would never have been able to figure it out. So they had to provide a charging card. But now they're like, okay, by now, everyone should know how to use a public charger. And if you're a journalist, you should have your Electrify America app downloaded and a charge point card. So I think that, that's kind of been an evolution of this with the media. Maybe they used to provide them in Europe also, and they just eliminated it like they did here in the US.
It's very possible. Porsche says the Taycan will come with 3 years of free charging, I believe, here. So that we'll get that when we have the Taycan, which is great because we're going to be doing a lot of high-speed stuff in that car, which means a lot of electricity will have to go into it. Also wanted to make one last note about the charging networks here in Europe after traveling now 2 countries in an EV. A ton of DC fast chargers pretty much everywhere, but usually like 1 or 2 posts. And they're usually only 50 kilowatts. To find like a 150 is like a whoa, big deal.
Yeah.
Which in the US, we're primarily, I mean, you have 50s sometimes in city centers, but all the new stuff's 150 and above for the most part.
Yeah, our infrastructure was all built out on 50 years ago. So the new stuff is faster, but we have a big infrastructure, which we're lucky to have. But why would you put in 150, 350, 3 years ago when you're trying to get as many charging?
Totally agree.
Yeah.
So that's the downside,
yeah.
but also the amount of charges. Like I notice when you turn up to a charging station and I watch your videos in America, there's a nice bank of, there's always something free. And here there's often 1 or 2.
Right. I've noticed this too. In the US, we do have a lot of these EV Go stations and ChargePoint DC fast chargers that are just 1 installs. EV Go is still doing kind of this 1 or 2 installation approach, but the rest are now going more for a minimum of 2. I've noticed here in Europe for a lot of the DC fast chargers where there's just 1 post, there's like a 22 kilowatt AC next to it as a backup, which I think is needed to have if you're just going to have 1 DC post. It's been really interesting. All of the chargers, I've been watching Bjorn obviously for, I don't know, since he started, years now. And so it's great to like see all the chargers that he's used. I'm like, oh, I've seen this in this video. And it's very, very exciting. But I will say Ionity's charging prices at 90 cents a kilowatt hour or something like this. This is the point I've been trying to make for the last year on this show, which is DC fast charging infrastructure is so expensive, and this is the level of cost that it has to be passed on to the consumer in order to have chargers put in everywhere. So I'm not complaining about their cost. I understand it. I'm just complaining that the infrastructure, technology, everything that goes into it is so expensive.
Right.
Absolutely.
Every network, I don't mind though, because it works.
Yeah.
With that network, it works.
And to Kyle's point, every network in the US loses money on charging. None of them are above water because it costs so much for the equipment and for demand charges and so forth. We're getting it ironed out with on-site energy storage, with different ways that they're working out how to drive down the cost, making deals with the utilities. But this infrastructure is so ridiculously expensive, even at 90 cents a kilowatt hour, Kyle. At today's level, like you still lose money. You're still below water. But it's getting worked out. The infrastructure companies are working out deals with utilities to bring down the cost, and the hardware is starting to cost less because now it's being mass produced.
Right.
When Electrify America first started installing these 350 and 150 kilowatt DC fast chargers, they were the only ones making them. It was like just custom equipment made for Electrify America. But now other networks are buying that same equipment from the vendors, and like everything else, volume drives down the cost to make this stuff.
And the speed of installation, speeds up. Like actually, Elon Musk tweeted something, quite sage today. I don't know if it's his maybe he borrowed it from somebody, but it says time is the ultimate currency, and so the time to put in these stations is like that's a big deal as well, right? So that's setting up your upfront costs. Oops.
Yeah. Permitting, inspections.
Yeah. I'm doing a feature tomorrow, which I'll fill you in on in future weeks if you want me to talk to you about it. It's a company over here called Chem Power, and they've got a fascinating model about how to share power. And so they have very simple charge stalls, literally just a little post and a cable. All the work is done in the cabinets in the back end. But I'm talking to someone tomorrow about that, and I can fill you in because that, again, is a way of getting lots and lots of units out there and then divvying up the power between them according to what car turns up to it. But it's another way of just getting more posts out there. And
Marcus just made a really good point. The payment system is too confusing and far too complicated. To Kyle's point, although Kyle is in another country and, trying to get it all sorted out, but even here in the US, I can't tell you, and I'm sure Kyle can tell you 100%, how many times I'm at an Electrify America charging station or from another network, another EV person pulls out and I'm doing my testing or whatever, I'm on video, and I see them just struggling for like 10 minutes. They can't figure out how to activate this. They can't swipe this. So finally I'll just break down and be like, do you need help over there? And they're like, yes, please. It can't be that hard.
Right.
It has to just be pull up, plug in, and it works. And hopefully plug-in charge will get us to that point. It's still in its infancy. There's still a lot of hiccups for plug-in charge. I can tell you a lot of Taycan owners have pulled up next to me, and I see them plugging in, unplugging, plugging, unplugging, and I'm like, did you set it up in your app? Did you do this? Well, the dealer never told me. So, I mean, we're still at the early years of that, but it has to get to the point where it's as easy as gas. You have to just roll up, plug in, and walk away like the 800-pound gorilla in the room does. And we don't need to mention that company from out in California. But they
Tesla
really
is amazing to road trip. It's so easy. I roll up, I plug in, I get max speed every time, and then I leave. This is the best. Also, Martin mentioned in the little pre-roll ad that was sponsored by Electrify America how we drove across the country in the Taycan. And it's true. CCS is faster to get across the country than the Tesla network right now. I wanted to bring this up. It's very impressive, the 350 kilowatt chargers that are going in everywhere over there. Are they buggy? Absolutely. Are they a pain in the butt to activate? 100%. Do they charge faster? Yes. So you just got to choose speed or ease of use at this time.
Right. And like you said, there's hiccups, but things are all, there have been huge improvements already in scale and consistency of use. Hey, I wanted to circle back to one thing, the ID.3 for a second, Kyle. Do you think they should bring that over here or not? Because you seem pretty impressed by the size of it. I know it's not like because it's built on the same thing as the ID.4.
It feels about the same length as ID.4. I don't know the exact specific. It's probably a couple inches different here or there, but I think it looks so cool, especially with the wheels and our spec with these. I don't know, Martin, if you're able to pull up a photo on Twitter. I know it's a couple days old now. Sort of blew up Twitter just because, I had time to post, and we're doing some cool things. But this is such a great looking car. It is a great driving car. I fear that in the US, though, it would suffer the same fate as the base Golf. People would just buy the ID.4. Versus here, I've only seen one ID.4 on the road, and it had the 21-inch wheels that we don't get. And I was like, oh, that looks cool. But the ID.3s here are everywhere. It's just a totally different market. Like, for example, on every street corner and on every road, especially here in Munich, you have Audi wagons. The Audi A6 wagon is like the most popular car around, and they're all the big diesel engines. They're all shredding down the Autobahns. In the US, and we haven't seen one A6 sedan since we've been here. In the US, it's the opposite. We get excited. I take pictures when I see wagons on the road. In the US, I'm like, enthusiast.
We love an estate car. We love an estate. Yeah. It's just the best.
The best. And I don't know why, as Americans, we collectively hate them. But I fear the ID.3 wouldn't. Everyone says they would buy one, just like every automotive journalist says they want a brown wagon, but no one ends up buying them when they come. Okay. And I think the best plan for ID.3, if I were Volkswagen, I'd figure out a way to get it homologated for the US. It shouldn't be too hard. And then I would just bring the future hot versions over. So they're doing this with Golf right now. We can't get a base Golf. We don't have Seat, so we wouldn't have a dealer network. They'd have to do it with the Volkswagen.
Yeah, just badge engineer it for Volkswagen.
Well, they'll have an ID.3R or GTX or something like this here at some point. And we'll just hopefully just get that same version over in the US would be my hope. And I would buy one. If we get a hot ID.3 in the US, I guarantee you I'll buy one.
Sweet. Cool. I mean, I like hatchbacks, but Canadians love hatchbacks for some reason. Like the Honda Civic back in the 90s, and it was like everywhere. There were so many. It's crazy.
It's funny. I love hatchbacks too. And everybody that I talk to says the same thing. Oh, I love a little hot hatch sort of, but why aren't we buying them? Because I mean, the manufacturers, a reason why everybody stopped bringing them here to the US. They just don't sell. And, when you say they don't sell, they still sell, thousands of them, let's say, but, not enough to bring a whole model here. And Kyle, about the size, we have to look it up, but I think the ID.4 is more than a foot longer than the ID.3. I thought I remembered that in the initial launch when they were talking about that. So it should be substantially bigger, but you're telling me it just doesn't feel and look it?
Yeah, it doesn't. It's honestly, it's just so good. Tom, you got to come over and ride in it.
I'll see you tomorrow night.
You're here, we'll take it. Yeah, tomorrow, 2 nights.
I'm leaving here tomorrow, but I won't get there until Sunday.
Right. Well, it's funny. We're having the whole Inside EVs team. Hopefully, Martin can join. Tom's going to come. Andre's going to come. He's done some videos on this channel, and we're all gonna drive around and do stuff. But Tom's busy during the day, but at nighttime we'll steal him.
All right. Hey, so Tom, so you have no new car this week, but I did want to mention that your first look video at the Hyundai Ioniq 5 that we talked about a bit last week is now up on the site, and so I would encourage viewers to check that out because it's a lot more in depth, and it really takes around the Ioniq 5. Which, Kyle, are you getting a chance to drive that?
Yes, so nothing on the calendar, but we did get confirmation from Hyundai here that they want to support inside EVs and out of spec and get us a car, which is awesome. And we are just going to get it on the calendar, and hopefully, I mean, they said we could do whatever we want with it when we get it. So charging test, range test, top speed test, the whole bit. And hopefully we can do all that before any US outlet gets the car.
Yes, unfortunately, I couldn't drive it. Cal's got me beat on that. He'll be able to drive it. There's only 2 of them in the U.S. But really quick, before the frame changes, I want you to notice in the background, that's a Lucid Studio. Oh, frame changed.
I'll go back.
Hyundai put this on display right in front of a Lucid Studio, right behind those red umbrellas. You can see that's Lucid's New York studio, and of course I parked my Model 3 right behind the Ioniq 5 in front of the Lucid store. So we had a little bit of an electric avenue going on there. There's only 2 of these vehicles in the U.S., so we couldn't drive it, unfortunately, but I did a nice walk around, explained some of the major styling points and interior features. I got Hyundai's communication manager, Michelle Tinson, did a brief, talking about some of the highlights and features of the video. So yeah, that's up on Inside EVs and on my YouTube channel, State of Charge. You can check that out if you're interested. It's one of the first, I think, real in-depth walk-arounds in the U.S. at least, because the very few of these vehicles, as I said, only 2. This was going to New York for the New York Auto Show, which was canceled at the last minute, like 14 days before the show. So this wasn't really supposed to happen. This display here, Hyundai had the car in New York, and they reached out to the people that live close to New York and were like, do you want to come and just look at the car? We'll park it on the street somewhere, and you could walk around it and check it out. So this was really impromptu, media event. And luckily I live close enough where I can go and really spend some time with it. Really nice vehicle. I mean, honestly, I fully intended on getting an Ioniq 5. Yeah, this was going to be my next EV until the Lightning was announced, and I just think that that's more of an important vehicle for me to have to really do a lot of testing and videos and so forth with. So I'm going to be doing the Lightning instead. But other than that, I probably would have bought one of these. And seeing it in person, I was like, should I get one of these anyway?
Yeah,
I mean,
really
they're
great. They're a great size. I think they're a really sweet spot in terms of the size. And when you see a picture of it on its own, you think it might be a smaller car than it really is. When you go and stand next to it or see it in context of the cars, it's a bigger. It's because it's the 3-meter wheelbase as well.
That's it. Right. That's it, Martin.
All about the wheelbase.
That wheelbase stretches all the way to it has a longer wheelbase than the Hyundai Palisade, which is a huge full-size SUV. And so when you look at that side view, it looks like a Golf, because that's what manufacturers have to do with these small hatchbacks. They have to push the wheels all the way out to the end, to have any kind of to make the vehicle work and to handle better. So when you look at that side view, it really looks like a little hatchback, but it's not. I mean, it's a nice size. It has more interior passenger volume than an ID.4, which I never would have thought that. It's got a little frunk in the front. I made a mistake with this. You see me opening up that frunk, I want to point out. So I open it up and you look, it's tiny. There's no room in there. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, they shouldn't even have made this. But I didn't realize, you'll see here, look, there's like a shelf there. That's only there on the all-wheel drive version. Right. On the rear-wheel drive version, you have actually a decent size, but the all-wheel drive version, there's power electronics. If you keep playing it, Martin, you'll see I popped that plastic thing open, and you'll see, because I'm like, why even make this? It's like 4 inches deep. You see that shelf there? Sure. But watch next. I'm gonna. It's not even 1 cubic foot of cargo space, but I pop it up. I'm like, that's why they can't make it any lower. But you could see on the rear wheel drive version that wouldn't be there, so that it has more space.
So I've driven the rear-wheel drive version, and that frunk is enough for, I reckon, 2 charging cables, like a Type 2 cable and maybe a home unit or something, or at least a big bag of smelly takeaway or something. It's big enough to put, or even valuables, because you probably wouldn't get valuables stolen from. It looks like an engine cover as well. It doesn't look like a storage unit. So much bigger on the rear-wheel drive version, useful size on the rear-wheel drive version.
But I really like that clamshell design hood, how it really wraps around the fenders and it goes right to the edge of the top of the wheel wells, which is pretty cool.
I think the boot is deceptive because it's high. It doesn't, there's no real lip, and it doesn't go down a long way, but it does go in a long way. So when I first saw the boot, and I was like, oh man, there's a lot of stuff underneath here, and it looks like it's going to be tight for storage. It's really not, and you can fold down the back. You can move the back seats. The Euro spec back seats are electric. The UK back seats are manual. Don't know why, but it's not a hardship. Although the nice thing is, on the Euro spec ones and on the Project 45, like the first edition ones, which we do get in the UK, the rear electric seats are controllable from the front. There's a little display, little control thing. But you can move them forward and even fold them all down. And there's a lot of storage in the Ioniq 5 as well.
Kyle, did you have a question for Tom about the Ioniq 5?
Yes, but it slipped my mind. I was hoping we would just gloss over that one.
Okay. So,
it was a real-time question. I don't know. I feel like I was trying to make fun of him for something, but I'll come up with something.
That's all right. Hey,
that's
Tom,
okay that you forgot then.
So Tom, yesterday I saw that you put up a post on Inside EVs letting people know that this will be an excellent weekend to go for a little electric vehicle road trip because the Electrify America chargers are free. So are they free for everyone, or do you have to have like a special card or a membership or something? Or what's the deal?
Free for everyone. No membership required, no card, nothing. I got an email a couple days ago, and the thing was interesting. Electrify America didn't send out any like press release or anything. We usually get press releases on this stuff so we can prep articles and so forth. I got an email because I'm a Pass Plus member. So in the email, it was like, we're giving you a heads up as a Pass Plus member, so forth. And I didn't read the email really thoroughly. And I wrote the article saying that at first that it was for Pass Plus members only. And after I posted it, like a minute later, I was like, oh, I'm wrong here. So I pulled it down and changed the title. Yeah, it was
Go away with it. It's fine. Nobody saw
Electrify America was just telling me like, you're special enough us to just tell you ahead of time, but it's not like you're getting this and nobody else does. Everybody gets this. So this started already this morning at midnight Eastern. 3 a.m. Eastern, midnight California. So we're already into this now. It's for 4 days, all day today, tomorrow, Sunday, and Monday. Free unlimited charging on Electrify America. Anybody wants to roll in and plug in, go have at it.
Well, this is so much better than what they did 2 Labor Day weekends ago, or maybe it was last Labor Day weekend. I think it was a year ago, where they took down the entire I-95 middle section corridor, just pulled the plug, and the chargers were there. And I was charging e-trons in my driveway, like trying to help people stranded in my town. That was a disaster. So I think this doesn't make up for it, but it is nice. And tell someone at Ionity to do the same thing over here, because we're starting to eat ramen noodles charging our cars.
89 cents, and that's Euro cents too, right?
It might be 79 cents. Someone commented. I thought it was 79. 79 cents per kilowatt hour. Anyway, it works out to almost $1 per kilowatt hour.
Ionity is one of those ones where if you are part of their membership, and often that comes with a new car that you've bought, then the rates are actually fine. It's if you're a non-member, you just turn up, you want to get a quick emergency charge, then it's a bit more pricey. You need to work out whether you're going to be using them or not. There's only 4 stations in the UK, maybe 5 now, but they are quick and reliable, and they're good, but not cheap.
Hey, Martin, have you heard about this massive fast charging park that's opened in Munich yesterday?
No.
Apparently, the largest fast charging park in Europe just yesterday opened up here. So we have to go find it. I'm going to try and go later today. Yeah.
There's one here. There's one here with 33 stations.
Is that the grid?
This one has 70 almost.
Oh, you've got to go see it.
Yeah, and this is at least what I heard. These are the rumors from friends that I was talking to yesterday in Austria. They said, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is the craziest thing. We've been driving by, looking at the progress." So we're gonna try and figure out where it is. I think it might be a Fastned and Tesla partnership. We'll see.
That explains. Yeah, often Fastned and Tesla have been working together,
Really?
and then they sort of combine the number. So maybe it's but still, if it's
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's combined with the Tesla
Yeah.
stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
I don't know. We just got a question: is the Labor Day free valid in Canada? I don't know, and I don't believe so. Typically, it would say that in the email.
Okay.
Free in both networks. But would have to check somebody. Maybe if somebody was a Pass Plus member in Canada, they would have received the email. I haven't heard anything about that. I haven't seen anybody else report on it. So I kind of have to assume no, that it's not. But
Well, it's not
maybe-
Labor Day in Canada. Theirs is in
Yeah.
September.
Right. That's a good point. And in Canada, it's Electrify Canada. Just point that out.
Right. But
Right,
it is
so-
managed by pretty much the same group, so it's
Right.
it is a different entity, but it's
It would just be
pretty
weird
much
to
the
pull
same.
up to an Electrify America in Canada, and even weirder because technically that's part of the Americas. It'd be even weirder to
Right.
pull up to an Electrify Canada in the U.S.
Yes. All right. So, want to hit some news? But before we do, let's get this message from our new sponsor.
This week's Inside EVs podcast is brought to you by Electrify America, and we're so happy to be partnering with Electrify America until the end of the year. With Electrify America, you can drive your EV from coast to coast, with more than 650 charging stations nationwide and new locations opening every week. Electrify America is bringing EV drivers the freedom they need. Whether you want to plan a weekend getaway for Labor Day weekend, maybe you're off to see some friends or relatives, maybe it's a coast-to-coast road trip. You can ask our Kyle about how that's done using Electrify America charging stations. Well, you can rely on Electrify America's ultra-fast chargers to get you back on the road faster. So, where will you go charging on Electrify America? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear what your plans are for this weekend, and tell us where you'll go next. And you can learn more at electrifyamerica.com.
Right. Hey, and that's not just like a spiel. Like if you're going somewhere this weekend, tell us about it on the YouTube comments, or that'd be great because we'd love to hear that stuff. All right. So let's move on to Rivian. They have reportedly filed for an initial public offering, an IPO. We've been expecting this, and it comes just as the company is about to begin delivering its first customer vehicles. Apparently, Rivian is very proud of what they've achieved so far, and probably has more ambition than it's revealed so far. And we say that because it's supposedly seeking an $80 billion valuation. Now, if that sounds like a lot for a company with a single factory that hasn't yet delivered a vehicle, you may be onto something. General Motors, for instance, has a market capitalization of just over 71 billion. So they think they're worth a larger market cap than General Motors, which produces hundreds of thousands of vehicles in multiple factories every year. But I guess it's all about growth and expectations. So Rivian only has 2 models of its own announced so far, and an order for 100,000 Amazon delivery vans. If each of those vans sold for $100,000, that would be only $10 billion in revenue. So maybe $2 billion in profit if we're being charitable. So Tom, do you think is this something up their sleeve as far as like a super promising product is concerned, or is this like $80 billion figure, or just like a huge overreach?
Well, you said it earlier. It's all investment on the come. Where they think that this company is going to be at a certain point. Certainly, there's nothing that would substantiate it being valued like anything like that at this point. But they say, hey, look at what happened with Tesla. And Tesla's stock went insanely through the roof, way more than what any real financial analyst would say is grounded in any kind of reality. But they're saying that it's the future, and they believe Rivian has good tech that's going to be able to drive the price up. It's insane to me to even think about it. But we saw this when even like the Neo, the Chinese company Neo, and it came, it was like it was $1 a share, and a year later it was $70 a share. Now it's pulled back down to in the 40s or 30, something like that. But I mean, EV startups are a hot commodity these days, and Rivian probably has the most buildup of any startup since Tesla. So they're saying, hey, we're gonna ride this wave of people putting a lot of stock and belief that these electric vehicle startups are going to be worth a ton of money in the future.
Yeah, I just can't wrap my head around $80 billion.
No,
really, I just
neither can I.
Like how I mean, because you would, I don't know. I mean, that's more than GM. So you're going to be bigger than GM. You're going to have to sell more than just cars. You're going to have. I mean,
well, you can tell they're not confident in their product. You want to know how I know this?
Okay, sure.
So, and honestly, we can kind of say the same about Lucid, and it really bothered me is these, brand new product, really exciting. The future of the company is going to be defined by the early reviews of their product. So these companies are, I would say, scared, obviously, of what the general media are going to say about their cars, and they give them to one outlet that can be totally, I don't know if it's paid or curated or influenced by a manufacturer. And then this is the initial story that everyone's going to be basing their opinions on in the car. And I think just based off of reading both articles, both for Lucid and for Rivian, that feels very influenced, very controlled, and not very in-depth testing going on here. So I would say that scares me, especially when they're going after an $80 billion evaluation, or valuation, I should say. This is a lot of money. We need to see cars being run out. We need to see them working in the real world. We need to see if they're buggy, if they're tuned correctly, if they drive well. And then, the companies make the products. That's what it's going to be based all on. No one knows truly if the products are going to be good or bad here.
Right. I've got a little thing on the Motor Trend review coming up in a second, but but I just want to mention I think that video they put up is only like halfway through their testing period. I think they're going to have more in-depth testing coming up, and that's still a pre-production vehicle though. But, so hopefully we'll be getting our hands on one of those. I don't know if anyone knows anything about that.
Well, we will be in the first organized media drive pool. Inside EVs will be part of that first group. To what Kyle was really alluding, what he wants to see, a whole bunch of journalists given the vehicle and said, go ahead, have at it, do what you want, test everything you want, and not just one controlled thing. So we have word that we're going to be in that first group sometime, in the near future.
Wow. Cool. That's pretty exciting, I think. Hey, Martin, did you have anything you wanted to add about this IPO? I'm not sure. I know we're not really like financial experts here, but
Yeah, but as the layman's point of view, they haven't delivered anything apart from some hand-built Amazon vans. The same with Lucid, the same with so many of these companies. I saw an article come across my desk yesterday, which was what's the little three-wheeler, Archimoto or something,
right.
And it was like a financial document or a report saying, oh, this is why you should invest in this company, and I'm like, they don't make anything reasonable yet. Like, they've got proofs of product, they've got some coming out the door, they've got some customers, and that's great. And as Kyle says, look, Rivian will get those cars into customers' hands who have been waiting for years. They probably won't criticize it. Like Tesla make available the beta version of full self-driving to, I think the pool is 800 or 900 people. Many of them are staff, and a few of them are YouTubers who have access. And if they criticize it, they'll have access taken away. Like, they're making money off their YouTube channel.
Tell me how we're getting accurate information out of these YouTube videos about this system.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so they're never going to criticize it. So we just need real people, not the ones that have been waiting for years. But so we'll get that first tranche out of the way, and then you'll get regular Joes and Janes that go, you know what, the Rivian looks really cool, I'll buy one. And then you meet them in a bar or a restaurant in a year's time, and they go, my car's great. And they're not out there hawking it or whatever. They go, that's a great car, that is brilliant. And that's when they've made a great car. But until then, how is it worth 80 billion? I don't know.
I mean, if we knew more about like the future plans, like other revenue streams besides, maybe they have a huge program for. I mean, I think they're going to make an SUV for Ford, right? Like the Lincoln one was canceled, but I think there's still one for Ford on the cards. I don't know. We'll need to speak to somebody
Yeah, but this
from
is
Ford
just
about
one
that.
model from a whole company that's valued right around the same amount of money.
Half
We'll have to
Ford's like
see.
50 billion, I think,
Oh
around.
yeah, so it's so much less, of course, but I think we can predict Rivian's going to do the charging thing. We'll probably see some sort of stationary storage device from them. It's just the playbook that Tesla set, that Lucid followed, that Rivian's probably going to do, and we'll see how it goes. Although, look, personally, I'm not saying I don't think Rivian's will be good. I'm very optimistic. I think they're going to be, badass.
Right.
They're going to be
Right.
awesome. But we truly don't know until this first wave, when one of the four of us is going to be able to drive it, and see how that goes.
And even after that, Kyle, I think that's going to give us a good indication. But shouldn't the vehicles like be in customers' hands for a year or two to see that they're not breaking and there's not all kind of recalls, and you can really
that's certainly a part of it.
You could really hand build a good number of vehicles that perform flawlessly. So a couple dozen media people can drive them, off road for a while. But you really want to see, do they have longevity? Can they hold up? I mean, these are going to be adventure vehicles. They're going to get crap beat
they're
out of
going to
them,
be bugs. There's never been a new product that's been perfect off the bat, right?
Of
So
course.
we have to expect speed bumps. We have to expect software updates. We have to expect hardware changes over time. But it's just going to be interesting to watch it unfold.
But how about if a year down the road, every Rivian has to be recalled because the battery pack.
Well, if we have the same situation of like Mach-E charging curve a year after, right? We've been saying this forever. Charging curve sucks. Charging curve sucks. It still sucks. There's no update. If this starts happening with Rivian, it's not going to be good.
Right. But hey, let's talk about this review that they got first. Okay. So the first media review of the Rivian R1T pickup truck is now out. Motor Trend was somehow given the honors, but we talked a few weeks ago about future owners getting the chance to drive it and how impressed they were at the time. And then I think we said that you can expect customers to get pretty excited and overlook details and possibly quality issues or whatever. But and we should wait until the press gets a hold of it. We said before you get too excited. But the press has now gotten a hold of it, at least this pre-production version. And they seem almost as impressed as the pre-order holders, calling it the world's most remarkable pickup. Mind-bending was another word they used to describe the truck. They spent 4 days with it so far, and they published the first article and there's a couple of videos you can go to Inside EVs, and there's this first one on the overview video, and then there's another video down the page looking at the interior. So if you're unfamiliar with the Rivian R1T, it's a medium-sized pickup with 4 electric motors, 1 to turn each wheel. It's got a lot of power, 835 horsepower and 908 pound-feet of torque, which is a crazy amount of power. They say it will do 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and that's the quickest production pickup truck ever so far. And really, that's as quick as any pickup ever needs to be. Quicker, actually. But what makes the Rivian special, though, is how it handles on-road and off-road with torque vectoring and the suspension, which is air suspension, but with interconnected hydraulic system, in there somehow that controls damping and roll. It lets you corner, pretty flat on the pavement, like with no body roll. And then when you go off-road, it's got full articulation and lots of suspension travel, even over rough, rocky surfaces. They say it has like a magic carpet ride feel, and that's something that the owners I mentioned too. Like riding like pretty quickly off road over undulating terrain. It's like very smooth feeling, which is they mentioned in the video. That's kind of air suspension isn't always great like that, but having the hydraulics tied into it somehow, it's supposed to be, I don't know, pretty impressive. So that could be, just one of those things that maybe they've got nailed down that nobody's. I don't know. We'll have to see how it compares when it holds up. But it wasn't all praise though. They took away points for the touchscreen interface. The menus were too complicated, they said. Like Tesla, the controls on the steering wheel can do multiple things, and they thought that was too much. I don't know maybe we'll feel differently.
They just had to say something negative to make it seem,
and it wasn't even negative. They just
No.
said, "What is this trend of having buttons taken away and put onto touchscreens? Oh, we hate it." And it's like that was just pointing at the general industry, and I was able to say to you guys on our internal chat, because I don't know what Motor Trend is, because we don't get it over here, or the history of it, or how big or not it is.
Used to be a huge magazine.
So I guess I can appreciate it's got a history, and that's why they get the first drives. But I sent you guys a message on our chat to be like, is this just a press release? Because it was just effusive. It wasn't a review. It was more like, here's how impressed we are with the vehicle. So yeah, we want to. You always want to, when you read something, try and work out the story behind it, and they probably were under pressure. I don't know. I'm guessing. I can say this because I'm not where you are. I don't have the same press contacts as you guys. They probably were under pressure not to be too hard on it, even if they found some niggly things.
Right.
Just because, hey, they were the first ones, and they want a good relationship. I don't know. I might be bang out of order.
I got the impression that the guys that they sent to do it, they're not really their video guys, they're not the go-to video guys, but they seem pretty genuine. I didn't see them. They're not like polished.
Yeah, I would say I think they genuinely did enjoy the truck, and that's to be as expected. It's just, are they either really knowledgeable truck reviewers, or really knowledgeable EV reviewers, or is there some sort of crossover? And I didn't get the sense that there was a lot of EV talk. It was just, here's the stats, and then here's the stuff you can do with a normal pickup truck. By the way, it's smooth and it handles well, and it's really fast. There was no real testing going on here. So that will come, and that will wait, and we'll do charging curves and thermal managements, because in my conversations with some Rivian engineers just over the years, they've been really concerned about charging speed. It's a 400 volt system architecture, not 800, and that they're really worried about temperatures while charging is a recurring theme when I talk to them. So I think this is going to be something we have to really focus on and see if they got charging right on this vehicle.
Right. And they also said it was a little short on cup holders and just interior storage spaces. That was another drawback. And the back seat was not as comfortable as it was up front, and I think it's a little bit more cramped. But overall, though, watching the video and reading the write-up, it convinced me that I really, really should sell a kidney, maybe two, maybe not mine, and get one of these things. Even with the bed that's like 2 feet shorter than what I'd like. I don't know if anyone else's trucks are going to be as good to drive on road and off road, which I like driving off road. If you're going fishing or taking a kayak down to a certain place in the river, it's kind of nice to be able to go wherever you want to go or need to get.
I think they've got really interesting plans in terms of, as a company, of making more vehicles that you're going to love. I mean, I like the R1S personally, because I don't know trucks, but I think you're right, Dom. I think you're right that they must be valued on so much more than what they are at the moment. Like, I know that there's the Rivian office in the UK. It's opposite Woking train station, I think. I did say on my podcast once. Does anybody at Rivian listen to me? And I got an email straight away from someone saying, you cannot say my name or who I am. Obviously, I can see who it was because it was in their signature. But they were like, yeah, we listen to your podcast. But they're now advertising for jobs in Germany. If you look at the Rivian job ad, it's all over Europe as well. So I think you're right. I think they've got big plans, much more than this is just where they're starting.
Right.
And they're starting with a US truck, but there's more to it.
I know they've been spotted in Australia as well. They have international ambitions. It's going to be like an international company, which they have to. I mean, 80 billion. They have to be, because even Ford and GM, they're valued at almost half, or in that neighborhood, 2/3 of that, and they're all international. So I don't know. I just think they're going to need more revenue streams than just vehicles, or they're just going to have a huge market share to be ever worth that much money. But anyway, Kyle, you had a chance to check out the review, and you're going to need a truck for your ranch there in Colorado. Does that take enough?
That's right. The out-of-spec ranch. I don't know. We'll see. I kind of want a fleet of Honda E's right now with a little lift kit and knobby tires. Yeah, I don't know. Not sure. Look, I could see this being my next daily driver, a Rivian R1S. Perfect Colorado car. Get it in green. It would blend right in to be perfect. Hard to say. I'm actually really really in thought about what I should buy next. I've had my Tesla for 2 years, which is the longest I've really kept a car recently. It's my third Tesla pretty much in a row. So I'm ready for a little bit of a change. I just don't know what to. I don't know if I go the Taycan route or if R1T, or do I do Polestar? I'm like all up in the air.
Right. So Tom, let's see. I hate to bring up. Oops, I'm trying to share this with y'all. Share. I hate to bring up a sore point, but the R1T has like 36 inches of
waiting depth.
Wow, look at that.
So
could have used that this week.
Right. So that's even more than the massive GMC Hummer EV. So are you sure you'd really rather have the F-150 Lightning? I know this one's a little bit more expensive, but you're a man of wealth and taste, no?
Yeah. Well, first of all, even if I wanted to get one now at this point, I couldn't, because the reservations and the list, I'd be waiting 2 years. Even if you tried to get one now, they're not going to be able to make them fast enough, as compared to how many people that already signed up for the reservations, I believe, at least.
Right.
But yeah, Dominic pointed this out because I live here in New Jersey, and we got crushed 3 days ago, or 2.5 days ago, with the Hurricane Ida as it came and passed through this area. We had flooding everywhere. There were cars stuck. I passed dozens and dozens of cars once the water, lowered, all on the side of the roads everywhere. People trying to go through and not knowing how deep it is. Never do that. Never try to drive to a flooded road, because you can't tell. You have no concept of depth when you're looking. It looks like it's not that deep, and then all of a sudden you're stuck.
People died in the south in that last storm.
Yeah,
Road was missing, and
it was really bad. And I had my Toyota pickup truck, and I was able to go through. And there was a few times where it had to be 2 feet deep, but probably not deeper than 2 feet. And I could have used something like this for sure. I don't know what the F-150 Lightning, which I'll be getting, what its limit is, but that's something that we'll probably have a chance to ask Darren Palmer in 2 weeks. We have Ford's global manager of electric vehicles as a guest on the podcast here, September 17th, Darren Palmer. So what's one of the questions we'll be able to ask him? And bring your questions September 17th. Hit Darren up with any questions you have about the F-150 Lightning, and really about any of Ford's electric vehicles and their electric vehicle plans, because he's the man. He's Ford's global manager of electric vehicles, and we scored a guest appearance by him in 2 weeks from now.
Well, hopefully the Lightning will live up to the 1988 Ranger that I drive, because I've had water up over the hood of that, driving through the woods here in Florida. Of course, there is some not without consequences, but still, eventually I needed a tow truck. But let's hope the Lightning can, live up to. I mean, yeah.
Well,
by the way,
speaking of, to go through 3 feet of water, but with climate change and so forth, it seems like these events are happening more and more frequently. I mean, I was driving down the road, and literally in Verona, New Jersey, sewer, the storm drain manhole covers were popping open, and water was shooting out like a geyser. It was just crazy. We got like 7 or 8 inches of rain in 2 or 3 hours, something crazy like that. And the storm drain system just can't handle that. So it was just wild.
Right. A viewer said, Donald Parrish says, I pulled my bumper off of his Leaf last month. The plastic pan on the bottom filled with water and was too heavy. Don't drive through water. Just turn around. And that's
absolutely
great advice.
I don't know
unless you have a Tesla, because Elon said they float like a boat, right?
Right. Don't listen to
that. No, don't listen to that. Don't do that.
I can see it's not on the show list that Dominic, you put together, but very quickly I will show on screen the tweet from Mike Levine.
Oh, right.
That said we have 130,000 Ford F-150 Lightning reservations, and now I'm racking my brain to remember how many they're going to make next year. I think it's 15 was their initial plan.
They doubled it to 40, I think.
You got to make more. Yeah, I don't know
Is
where
it
you're going to
40 or
get
80?
like you got to get more batteries, more chips, more semiconductors. But
Yeah.
Well,
if
the
that's
factory's not going to be ready for sorry, Martin, to cut you
Yeah.
off. The factory's not even going to be ready for perhaps half the year. So they're not going to be rolling these off the line January 1. You know, it's sometime in spring or mid 2022. So, all right, you're starting out with half a year, and then it's a new vehicle. So, you know, that you don't hit the ground, a new vehicle, completely new factory. So you don't all of a sudden just turn the lights on and start producing 100,000 vehicles a year, you know, and so I understand that, but that's it sounds like I'm making excuses. I want as many of these things out there also, but I understand why that first half a year might be a little slow. 2023, they better be able to make a ton of these things.
Yeah, or it's going to be a 3-year wait list,
Mhm.
and that's insane. So,
Wait, there's a Hurricane Larry? Pete Remy just said in the comments, Hurricane Larry is headed straight towards New York City. I haven't heard about New York. I mean,
no.
New York City got hammered by that too. There's like a huge amount of flooding, and man, a lot of. Anyway, so let's move on to some more news. We're already up to an hour. So, all right. A couple weeks ago, Audi showed us its Sky Sphere concept, the first of 3 vehicles with the sphere theme in its name. That one will forever stay a concept, but this one will be the basis for a production vehicle built on the PPE platform. That's the premium platform electric from Audi. So perhaps one of the first things you'll notice about the Sky Sphere is that it's big. It's like 17.6 feet long. It's huge. It's
So not as long as Model S, but close.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I think Model S is 18, isn't it?
Right off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but 17. Okay.
Model S length feet is, I'm in Germany, so everything's in mm.
Oh, millimeter,
feet.
yeah. You can also Google
It's 196 inches. There's not feet anywhere.
Damn you with the metric system. Damn
Come
you
on!
with your millimeters.
All right. But anyway,
16 feet long, the Model S.
16 feet long.
Okay, sorry, I was off. I apologize.
it's all right. So yeah. So it's elegant, but it's still somewhat sporty. The design is especially striking around back. I don't know if you can pull up a profile shot of that, because that's really like the angle that, I mean, that's like the money shot. Or that's the rear 3/4 we're looking at if you're watching us on YouTube. So yeah, it's striking. It's got that boat tail thing going on in the back. The interior also reflects the fact that they expect us to have a level 4 autonomous capability. So its steering wheel disappears into the dash like magically with a wave of the hands. There's a lot of concepty things going on here, but overall, this stylistically is where Audi is headed. Kyle, I know you're not a fan of concept cars or getting too deep into design, but like, how does this hit you? Like, especially the back end boat tail thing.
Yeah, it looks more aerodynamic going backwards than forward. So it sounds like we'll have a pretty good test to be able to do efficiency in reverse versus forwards.
I can't decide if I really love that or really hate it.
No, I don't. I love the front end. Personally, the front end's all it for me. Can we look at that really quick again?
Sure.
That shot. That looks great. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Well, I mean, it's okay.
Oh, I wanted to tell you as well. I experienced for today the first time these little electric mirror things. You know how they don't have the glass and they have the camera inside?
Right.
The Honda E has them.
The Honda E,
it's not allowed in the US, is it?
Not allowed in the US.
You haven't had them, right?
Oh, it took me like 20 minutes to start trusting them, but it's really good now that I have them. I had the sun right at the back; they weren't blinding. But I got the car in a really tight parking garage, is where I put it when we first got it, and I was like backing up, and I was like, okay, let me just look with my eyes and check and look and check. Really cool, actually. And Timon, our videographer, drove the Honda E today as well, and he said the cameras were the best part of the whole car. So I hope we get these in the US. It's a great idea. Also, on the Audi trend, I was at Audi HQ yesterday, I guess it was. Was it yesterday, Timon? 2 days ago. And that's right, 2 days ago. We went to Ingolstadt. We did some snooping around. Whenever I go to head offices of manufacturers of automakers, I go up and down every parking garage. You always find the best stuff stuffed in the corner on the bottom floor or the top floor. And so we're going up and down and up and down. And we saw some amazing things that I don't think we should share pictures of. But also Q4 e-tron everywhere, which is a really good looking car. And that'll be coming to the US. So that's at least relevant to our market.
Right.
Yeah.
So Tom, what do you think about this? Is this like
Okay, can we pull up the instrument cluster and steering wheel really quickly?
right? Yeah, I like that
I
interior
thought
shot.
for
the
sure
dash.
Kyle was going to say that's like the BZ4X instrument cluster. It looks
it's like you slam on the brakes
and it stretched through. But I think
like it was really hot.
Doesn't
and it
that
just
steering
melted
wheel
forwards.
fold in though? I think this is made for level 4 or level 5 autonomy.
Yeah, that's right. It
Doesn't it?
disappears
I think
away.
it folds right in and
I think someone
folds away.
referred to
That's
it-
why it's designed like that.
I think some refer to it as a butterfly. So yeah, I think it kind of somehow folds up and
That's silly.
flicks
We
away.
won't ever see that.
No,
Yeah, I don't-
level 4's not coming to passenger cars for a long time.
I mean, this is like we're looking at 24, 25, I think, time frame for something like this.
That's really not even going to happen.
So this seems like a little soon.
No, you can look. You've seen the Waymo autonomous vehicles. They're covered in cameras and sensors, and they've still got safety drivers in. And this week they started taking a select group of paid customers. I think it's the Waymo ones, but it's like the idea that self-driving cars are months away. Like, just stop it now. It's ridiculous. But
they've been months away since 2014, according to Tesla.
They've got to make the thing, and they've got to be like, oh, the steering wheel disappears, and the front wheels will spin, the front seats will spin around, and you'll be all, like a lounge. That's what concept cars are for. In 3 years' time, they won't be driving themselves.
So Martin, I just want to make this clear. You don't support paying $10,000 for the full self-driving option on Teslas. I just want to get you on record.
What I love is the people that support the company with $250,000 in 2017 for a Founders Edition Roadster for a car that is at best another 3 years away. That's almost a 10-year loan.
So they say 2 years, but
Yeah, that was with a wind behind them. That's not happening. Roadsters never come. Hey, by the way, new Roadster never coming. For those YouTubers that won their 2 cars, you're never getting them.
And they gave away a whole bunch of free cars to referrals that they won't ever have to give away.
You're not getting that. They're never making that car.
Well, I mean, people can sue. I mean, that's a lawsuit right there, right?
Well,
no, because there's fine print everywhere that says, this is just based, things are subject to change.
Yeah, lawyers live for fine print though. So,
and they'll never say it's dead. They'll just say it's another 2 years.
It's delayed. It's delayed. I mean, even the Roadster was a $50,000 deposit, but if you wanted that Founders Edition, it's a $250K deposit that you've paid years ago.
No, the best though are people who leased their Teslas in 2016 with full self-driving that have now gone back off lease. And they got zero benefit from that extra $60 a month or something crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, so speaking of this, I had this a little later on in the show, but we might as well mention it now. So Tesla wants to launch its full self-driving public beta in September. So we should have asked him to come on the show because John, our global editor-in-chief here, he has full self-driving on his car, on his Tesla Model 3. He didn't pay $10,000 for it because he got in a little early. But so, Elon Musk tweeted out the other day on the 1st of September, FSD Beta 10 rolls out midnight Friday next week. So next Friday, or Elon time. So the Friday after that, looks promising.
January.
Right. Looks promising that Beta 10.1, about 2 weeks later, will be good enough for public to opt-in request button. So this is right. So they're going to roll out this new beta thing 10 next Friday. So that won't be available to everybody yet. But then people like John will be able to 2 weeks later or longer, depending, will be able to have the public opt-in request button show up on the screen at some point. So he'll be able to, decide if he wants to. And he should. I mean, I'm pretty sure he will because, he wants to know what's going on with the full self-driving abilities of the beta 10.1. We've seen there's been some impressive videos of what it's doing. I know there's a lot of disagreement about how the safety level of this, because it's so good that people may be too trusting of it, but I don't know.
And there's zero communication from the company to the users as to when and how to take over in given situations. This can be so much safer by making everyone just I would still not even be fully in support of this, but this would be bare minimum. Like, make everyone watch a video and somehow have a personal one-on-one Like, so someone monitors and they understand the situation. And this is the thing. Anyone can get into a car with full self-driving beta. A valet, my mom's friends have it. Like, we can just get in this car and use it. Like, how should that be possible? That a random person can get in a car and have access to this technology that they don't understand. And most users of the system generally don't understand when and how to take over when it's proper. So they just say, oh, the car's doing it. And as Martin correctly pointed out last show, they're driving down the wrong side of the road, or in his case, the correct side. And they're going, oh, this is the best thing ever.
I've just got this real sneaky suspicion that something is about to go wrong regulatory wise. For them, they've been under the radar for so long. Last weekend in Florida, in Orlando, another state trooper was hit. The car didn't hit him, but the driver told state trooper he had autopilot switched on. It smashed into a police vehicle that had stopped to help a broken down Mercedes.
Right.
And then once again, NHTSA writing earlier this week to Tesla, wanting a reply by 22nd of October. Why can't your cars see flares? Why can't they see flashing lights? I just get the feeling with the Biden administration, a newly emboldened NHTSA, that all of a sudden, I think there's going to be a real regulatory close look at Super Cruise, at Tesla's system, all of them.
Yeah, they all really need to be looked at. And
I think for a long time, Tesla have ridden the startup, California, wild kind of like Elon Musk kind of thing. And under Trump as well, it was largely ignored. I just think by the end of the year, there's going to be a crackdown on these systems of we really want to understand what car makers are doing now.
Well, in the Florida case, or in any of these cases, if you see a police vehicle pulled up on the side of the highway, the law in Florida and many other states is you have to get over in the left lane. So that's up to the driver. So the driver,
Yeah, but Dominic, the drivers are allowed to be in such a state of unresponsiveness and unawareness that they don't know that the car stopped on the side of the road. They're just doing this.
I would charge them with negligence,
Oh, of course. It's on the driver 100%. But I mean, there's still people dying in situations like this because they're just on autopilot sitting there like this.
Right.
Look, I find myself losing sense of everything going on long stretches on autopilot. I love the system. I use it all the time. It's amazing driver assistance. It's so good. It lulls you into a false sense of security. And that's when things happen.
That's absolutely the problem. It is so good that, 99.9% of the times it's fine. So it only takes that 0.5% of the time for a catastrophe to happen. And like Kyle, I have it and I use it all the time too. Did a lot of driving over the summer, a lot of trips up to Massachusetts, to upstate New York, used it all the time. And I found myself on a few occasions not being as attentive as I should. I admit it. And, it's just human nature. And I've got lucky. It just takes that split second for, traveling at 75, 80 miles an hour on the highway. You approach a stopped police vehicle really quickly. I mean, you look up, he's out of your line of sight. You're down, you're doing something for 2 or 3 seconds and you're on top of that vehicle. That's all it takes. And that's what's happening in a lot of these cases. So it's tough. What do we do? Where do we go? How do we get better if we don't?
So Super Cruise and Ford's Blue Cruise system, they have like eye monitoring system, and Tesla has a little camera there, and they were doing something with that. So I don't know, is that
but it's not going to be as accurate eye tracking because those systems are for eyes. But then there's also the question of there's like biometrics tracking for driver monitoring systems now to say certainly look, you can like go for a drive sometimes. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, and you're like, oh, how did I just end up here? Like you kind of just lose a little bit of consciousness. You go into a trance.
Daydreaming.
I mean, especially when the car's doing everything, if all you have to do is look ahead, you could just put sunglasses on with eyes sticking forwards. I mean, there's ways to trick every system, right? Where there will always be a workaround. But I think we need to engineer these systems for general use case. And having a more than just torque sensor in the steering wheel is driver monitoring minimum. And I would say even more than eye tracking, there needs to be some sort of biometrics tracking. And there's ways to do this with sensors, with using the seat. And that will really help to, tune in to, is the person behind the wheel conscious of the driving situation or not? It's not, are they looking ahead? Are their hands on the wheel? It should be, are they processing the information?
And just to get my chance to get on the soapbox for a second, because some manufacturers are calling their systems hands-free systems. You know, I really hate. I think even stuff
No,
happens
they
on
are
on
hands
road.
free. You don't
I mean,
physically
yeah.
need your hands to operate Blue Cruise and Super Cruise.
Oh, right.
But you
But
do
something could
need
happen
to
on the road, and then
look
the moment
forward.
that you take the fumble to get back your hands back on the wheel, I don't know. I
Leads to
just think
situations.
I think it's always a good idea to have at least a hand on the wheel when you're operating
Yeah,
with
and
these
we
systems.
always hear these arguments like there's never been a major issue with Super Cruise. Well, it's
We don't
not
know.
as used that often by the owner base, I would say, and
Right.
there's very few cars with Super Cruise. I mean, there was a period of time where Super Cruise launched, then they discontinued that model, and you couldn't actually buy Super Cruise on any
Right.
new car. This was like a 9 or 10 month period of time. So look, we'll see what happens when more cars get out there. Bolti UV, I thought was going to be a good one, but now you can't buy any of those. Escalade, I think, is probably the best-selling car with Super Cruise. So,
Right.
do their owners use them? I don't know. I think they're just driving around Miami with the gold chains on. So we'll see.
Talking about Bolt UV, I was
Yeah.
supposed to have one last week.
Yes.
That's why I'm not driving a vehicle this week and didn't have anything to talk about. And 2 days before I was supposed to get it, I got the email.
Big recall.
These are not being given out at all.
Right. And that production is shut down. We don't even know when they're going to start making them again, because they really need to work out with LG, their cell supplier, who's taking responsibility. Can you actually make good cells? I mean, they don't want to make new cars with like the same potential for, material defect. I believe it's a torn anode and possibly a folded separator, one of those two or both together. I'm not sure exactly, but they really need to get that together, because our whole partnership going forward depends on being able to produce cells, quality cells with zero defects.
And apparently the recall made its way over here as well, unsurprisingly. Ampera E, when we picked up our Opel from their Munich location, they had a row of Ampera E's as a sort of a dealer group with a whole bunch of cars. And they said, yeah, we can't do anything with those.
Right. Ampera. I forgot about those. This is nice. All right. So let's go back and talk about the CUPRA. So I put this CUPRA UrbanRebel concept on the thumbnail for today's show because I really like what the brand is doing. As a reminder, CUPRA is the sports brand for Seat, which is a Volkswagen Group brand deeply rooted in Spain. They debuted they sell them in Mexico though too, CUPRAs. So it may be possible to get one here, but we'd have to go down to Mexico first and get it, and then drive it up into the States.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, there's an idea for a video. I mean,
you can bring any car into the U.S. for 364 days, and then it has to leave. But it just has to leave for like a day or two, and then you can bring it back.
Okay. I mean, just for like that'd be great. Just like a great.
Oh no, for a test, I know. But I was thinking like if we were going to go down and steal one and bring it up, we would just have to do this whole border thing, once every year.
Right. Right on. Okay. So they debuted the CUPRA Born earlier this year, which is a better looking VW ID.3, basically. I think.
Agreed.
This UrbanRebel is a race car concept, but it previews a city car coming in 2025 for Volkswagen Group brands. So expect this car, which will be built on the short version of the MEB platform that the ID.3 and the ID.4 and other coming vehicles will be on. This will be on the short version of that and be very sporty. And I would expect it will also come with 4 doors. This is like a coupe, a 2-door. However, because it has to still be practical enough to be attractive for a large number of people, because according to CUPRA, it expects to build 500,000 city cars a year for different Volkswagen brands at its factory in Martorell in the northeast of the country near Barcelona. So, Martin, this may be too small and maybe too boy racer to consider as an actual purchase for you, but what do you think of this concept and the direction they're going with this? Can you make it like a Volkswagen ID.2,
There has to be, doesn't there? There has to be an ID.2, and it has to be made with probably, LFP cells or in a facility where they're just going to churn out a ton of these. There has to be, because
you need scale for
as Kyle is finding out now, our roads, and you're in a big city, our roads are pretty small. It made me chuckle when Elon Musk came over to Berlin when they were staking out I think either when they were buying Groman or when they were doing the Gigafactory or something, and he tweeted afterwards and been like, I think the Model X is too big for Europe, and it's like, you just realized that? My God, man! Like, our roads are tiny, and so yeah, we do need smaller, affordable cars that are going to be, by the time you do it on finance, a couple of £100 or 150 euros or something in a month to get into. And so I love stuff like this. I love the car companies finally saying, right, we're moving into these segments that don't make us as much money, but they're going to go EV.
I love the look of this thing. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would D-boy racer it a little bit, take that big wing off and everything. But look, Martin's absolutely correct though about the size. ID.3 feels big here, and I'm in a big city. I mean, this is
this
car is huge.
Like our shop spaces, everything is smaller.
I'm inching this little ID.3 like that close to other cars. I'm like, I don't know how they're going to get out without ripping the bumper off, but this is what I got to do. But Honda E is the right size. So we need Volkswagen Polo sized, Honda E size vehicles. Oh, I saw an E up today for the first time. I was so excited. These little small hatchback electric things are the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, actually, there's some little rumors about the Tesla Model 2. They call it Model 2 because it's going to be smaller than the Model 3 and cheaper and stuff. But that's possibly lined up for 2024. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Cool. They need to.
They got way too many cars in the pipeline.
Right? I mean, yeah. Well, I think that would take priority over Roadster, because they want to push Roadster back a bit if they make if they make that. All right. So I don't know. Anything else we want to say about this CUPRA besides it's pretty awesome, but it's a race car, and I didn't even write down the horsepower.
CUPRAs seem awesome. I tried to get a CUPRA born here, but they aren't doing press drives till early October, so I missed it by like 2 weeks. Yeah.
Martin, you have to get us a born.
Yes.
They sell them in the UK, right?
Yeah, I see loads of the CUPRAs around.
Okay. They make plug-in hybrids too, right?
I forget what it's called.
Leon.
But all the CUPRAs here, they're like super hot, raced out. They're popping out the exhaust. People are ripping them. Okay. It's the best. That's really cool.
Formentor, I think the Formentor is their SUV or their crossover.
Yeah, that's it, the Formentor. Yeah, Formentor.
CUPRA makes this really. There's a really good looking small wagon that they make that I see a ton of around here. And I love it. I don't know what it is. I've been trying to read the badge, but it looks hot, and everyone driving it is just driving like their hair is on fire. It's the best.
Yeah. They really got some good styling going on over there at CUPRA. I'd like to see more of that somehow.
Yeah. But of course SEAT is cheaper than VW to buy, or so that is the Spanish cheaper bit of VW. And of course SEAT had the CUPRA Elborn, when they first prototyped that and showed it off next to the ID.3. Of course, everyone
which is a better name than CUPRA Born, by the way.
Yeah, like the Elborn was like, well, that one's better, so I'll wait for that. They had to transfer it away from SEAT because it would have been cheaper to buy than a VW brand mothership, and then move it to the CUPRA brand, which they can charge a premium for. So that was hilarious because it looked way better than the ID.3.
Right. Hey, so speaking of sporty editions of vehicles, the Hyundai Ioniq 5N is coming. Apparently, it's for real, and we've got a story on Inside EVs with some shots of it being spied for the first time. It looks kind of like
bigger brakes, isn't it? Some bigger discs, right?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of differences.
Look at the fitment on that rear wheel, though. That's perfect fitment. We would actually probably need a bit of a fender lip in the US because we have a regulation that doesn't allow the tire to stick past the fender.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. And that makes sense because there's the Kia EV6 GT,
right?
I think that's what it's called, which is the 3.5 seconds 0 to 60 car that comes next year. But the all-wheel drive 306 horsepower Ioniq 5, something like that, isn't as quick. So there's room for a rapid Ioniq.
It will be the new Lancia Delta Integrale once you get a hot version of one of these because it looks super retro. It's big though. That's the only thing I will say. Right. I wish it was like put in a copier and set to 70% size, but it's perfect other than that.
Yeah, this man, I love this thing so much. I can't wait to see them on the road.
Yeah.
So yeah, the wheels do kind of stick out a little bit.
Yeah, so my guess is they'll have a fender flare for this version
Oh, yeah.
that will
Right.
give it a little
Okay.
bit of muscle.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, someone also just mentioned, it's been like mentioned 6 times, but there's a YouTube channel, Car Maniac. Any YouTube channels that are here in Germany that we should partner with, shoot me a message on Twitter. We're meeting with 3 or 4 of them this weekend.
You're not talking to guys at Autogefool, are you?
Actually, I did want to reach out to Thomas, who's one of my favorite auto presenters. I've met once.
Mine too.
And I just love his style, the whole bit. It's great. I should reach out to him.
Yeah. All right. So what time we have? Oh, we're up against it. I don't know if you want to talk about anything else on this list. The Kia Niro EV is coming out and it's got a little higher price, but maybe a bit more equipment. Renault has an electric sedan you can't actually buy, but you can lease if you're a company. Actually, this is kind of interesting. I wanted to talk about this at some point, but the GAC, that's the Guangzhou. I don't know how.
This is important. This is cool.
Yeah, they've got they revealed a 480 kilowatt ultra rapid charger, which is, I think we were expecting a 600 kilowatt charger, but they released a 480. I don't know, but they've got some crazy battery tech that it's a graphene battery that charges at 6C. So I need to.
Wasn't it like 5 minutes from 5 to 80% or some crazy number?
30 to 80 was 5 minutes, but it's still crazy.
30 to 80.
It peaked at 430 or 480. It might have even peaked at the maximum speed. And as Dominic, as you say, because it runs at 1,000 volts, and is a 600 amp charger. I think everyone did the maths and was like, well, that times that equals a 600 kilowatt charger. But it's coming at 480. But either way, because it's and this is in production. The car's are on the road in September, with a graphene battery. And if this was any one of the US car makers or a German car maker, it would be headline news everywhere, because it's a Chinese car maker that's come out and gone, well, hey, here's our new car. It's barely been mentioned. It's mega.
So you could get an $80 billion IPO valuation with this kind of technology.
I mean, do you know what I mean? So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how real it is. There was very little coverage of the launch event, either in Chinese or English, so it's difficult to know how real or not is it. Look, I think it's real. But
hey, Tom, do you have any contacts there with the GAC?
Not really. I had, but they left the company. But
can we also just mention how much the Chinese people love Tom? Whenever I talk to a Chinese automaker, they're like, "Do you know Tom?" I'm like, "Yes, I work with Tom all the time." They're like, "Oh my God, this guy's the coolest."
That's funny.
Tom Rockstar. He's big in Chengdu.
The funny thing is, to Kyle's point, when I was over there with Neo once, it was right before coronavirus really hit. They had this one event where it was like a VIP event, and they only had about 50 or 60 people there. They had top executives from Neo. And the funny thing was everybody kept coming up and talking to me and wanting to take a picture with me. And I was like, okay, that sounds like fun, and I was doing it. And then later on, somebody from Neo was like, Tom, a lot of people here follow you, and you're kind of like a celebrity among like electric vehicle reporting in the United States. So I didn't know if you know that, and then it kind of made sense, because it was so weird. People just kept coming up to me and wanting to take a picture of me at this Neo event. And so that was pretty cool.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
I don't know why, but
we're not worthy.
So maybe you're the man.
It's like, why was David Hasselhoff so popular in Europe singing, but he was. So I think I was like the David Hasselhoff of
Tom, I think you just need to go and do
China.
You need to go drive a ton of Chinese EVs.
We need to get you hooked up with this GAC people somehow then, because they've got. But this is the only one they have with a graphene battery. They just released there's a big auto show in China. I forget which city off the top of my head, and they had some really cool.
Chengdu.
It was Chengdu. Okay.
I think I'll say Chengdu.
Yeah, they had like a what's that? They had like a roofless version of one of their cars. It looked pretty. It's pretty special. Maybe we'll have that on Inside EVs this week. But yeah, this was the only one I think with the graphene battery. So it's kind of weird. It's not like it's not like a huge production. I don't know, with this kind of technology. I don't know why you wouldn't roll or try to invest in huge factory and ramp up production like crazy levels. And
because it's not proven out in the real world yet. We don't know if they'll just explode when you charge them this fast. I hope they won't, but let's wait till they get tested again.
Yeah.
Man, I mean,
But
they have
still,
to.
look, 35 kilowatt hours in under 5 minutes. That's nuts.
That's
not bad,
nuts.
is it? That's
That's
not
crazy.
That's 100 miles of driving range on the average EV. You know, even 125 in an efficient EV in 5 minutes. That's,
Right,
This
this
is
is
cannonball
that's
charging
gas.
right
That's
there.
like, you know, that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, what you could do with that, Kyle? Geez, you could shave how many hours? 5 hours off
Oh.
your trip or something.
Well, honestly, I kind of want to run the Taycan again in the warm weather now that it's working nicely with Electrify America, because at the time it wasn't. We could shave 2 hours, 3 hours off easily,
Oh, nice.
allegedly.
Allegedly, I was looking for a picture or something, but okay. Why don't we just call it? It's been a week. So
Yeah.
and so everyone have a great weekend, and that brings us to the end of our show. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them on the Inside EV's forum podcast thread or on our YouTube or Twitch comment sections. If you like the show, please give us a thumbs up, and if you're watching us on YouTube, or a rating if you're listening on another platform. Don't forget you can find and follow our panelists on Twitter. Follow Tom Malogney at Tomlog, that's with 2 M's. Martin Lee is at EV News Daily. Kyle Connor is at It's Kyle Connor. And I'm at Dominic_Y. Click subscribe and tap that bell icon for notifications. And we'll see you all again next week. Ciao.